good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind Association Think and Grow Rich show. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, and I'm just so excited to be with you again. I am just so excited to be with you again as we walk through the book Think and Grow Rich. And each week, each month, we talk about a different principle, but each week we stay with that same principle, and we are talking about the principle of decision. And this is the mastery of procrastination. Have you ever had anyone in your surroundings where they would talk about doing something someday? Or have you yourself mentioned, this is something I'm going to get to someday? And next week you say, oh, this is still a priority, but we're going to get to this someday. Well, my friends, that's called procrastination. And Napoleon Hill talks about that procrastination is the opposite of making a decision. And it's commonly the enemy for practically for every achievement, we have to fight procrastination. Well, Napoleon Hill talks us through how to do that, leveraging the principle of decision. And I'm just so excited we're going to be talking about this. But I'm not by myself. I'm not alone, as Dr. Peter likes to say very often. Dr. Peter, what's going on, man? What's going on?
Hey there, Galen. I'm excited to be here as we dive on into another great principle, the principle of decision. But we're not alone there, Galen. We have a phenomenal guest today who will help us discuss how we can make better decisions in our life. And I don't know about you, there's always room for me to make better decisions. So that's why I'm excited about today's show to dive on into that and identify what that might look like for me. Hopefully, our audience feels that same way.
Fantastic. Ready or not, we're going to come with the inspiration. We're going to come with the information that they need in order to make better decisions. So I hope they're ready too. But we don't get to run this ship by ourselves. Miss Ann, she's somewhere in the world, but she wanted to make sure she was with us today as well. Miss Ann, where in the world are you, and how are you doing today?
Well, first of all, let me ask the question of everyone. Have you made a decision about how much money you want? Yes, 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 yes. That's the decision question for many of us today. And I am at my McNeil Factor Niche to Be Rich business retreat. Yes, on an island in Florida, and I'll leave it there because I've already had three people at the last minute hit me up, DM me, and say, "Hey, can I come?" Yes, of course you can come. So, my question for everybody as you listen to our phenomenal guest today, ask yourself the question: have you decided how much money you want? And then you must ask the question: are you willing to become that person to act on the decision to do the inner work? So let's get this party started.
All right, all right, boy. I can tell you're ready to go. You're ready
Yes,
to
I
go.
am. Yes, yes. And of course, in case people are thinking that this is a backdrop, it's not an artificial backdrop. It is actually real. So I don't know how long this makeup is going to stand, but I'll be here.
Well, hey, let's jump into this. Before I bring in our guest, I just want to share a little bit of his background because, as Dr. Peter shared, this is going to be a deep dive into something that I think everyone is going to be able to benefit from. So, before I share the secret. Top secret code word for our guest to come in. I want to share a little bit of his background. Rex Stevens Sykes has decades of experience of transforming lives globally. He's the creator of Mind Design and Directed Questions, and he's a master trainer in NLP, and he's an expert in whole brain learning and the law of attraction. This guy is an expert in so many different things that talk to how we think, not necessarily what we think, but how we think, because that's at the core of this whole idea of making decisions. So with that, I want to bring in our guest for today, Mr. Rex Sykes. Come on in, man. How you doing?
I am thrilled to be here among you. I'm humbled and I am honored to just share time and space with each of you today. I'm eager, I'm excited, and I'm totally delighted.
Well, fantastic. Well, we're great to have you. Great to have someone who's got such a deep understanding of how the brain works and how people work and how they leverage their brains as we get into this topic of decision in our beloved book, Think and Grow Rich. So before we jump deeper into this conversation, I'd love for you to share just a little bit about your background. How did you come to this place that you are now? I'm not sure that you were born with a Think and Grow Rich book in the crib. You may have been, but tell me a little bit about the journey.
Well, close. I mean, my parents put me in acting, well, dancing, acrobatics, and then acting class at 3 and 4. And not because they hoped that I would do any of that, but because they wanted to kind of give me some culture. And I was also raised Catholic. And, we'd go to the Mass, and at that time, Mass was in Latin. You didn't understand. A lot of pomp and circumstance, a lot of incense, stained glass windows, and this guy in robes, and, kids running around, altar boys and stuff. And I'm like, this dude didn't use the word at the time, but he's got a connection with the man upstairs kind of thing. I want to know about that. So I asked my mom at some point, I said, do we have anything? I was about 6, and I said, do we have anything you can read? Share with me. And she, there obviously was the Bible, there was Bhagavad Gita, there was Khalil Gibran, there were many books, and one of them was Think and Grow Rich. So at 6, she started, I profess, I didn't understand a whole lot of it at 6, but I was still being read it. And around the age of 11, I started reading these books on my own. And for some reason, and I can't even tell you why, I had this affinity, this connection, this deep, like Napoleon Hill is my man, and that there's something there. And so I started reading. I've read it almost every day of my life. There was about a year period where I didn't in my 20s, and I got into some trouble, maybe as a result of that. But otherwise, I've been studying this book for, I'm 69. So since I was 6 years old, 3 years.
Wow. Oh my gosh. What a story. What a story. We're going to jump deeper into that story on the other end of this video, where we talk about the principles of thinking rich. But before I toss this to Peter to discuss this video, I just want to acknowledge that watching us online, watching us on YouTube Live is Doretha Dennis, Diane King Flowers, Shannon Charlton. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us every single week. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button underneath the video. That's how we tell the YouTube algorithm that we're talking about something that other folks need to know about. And then when you hear Rex, Peter, or Ann say something that you think was absolutely amazing, then you can hit that little reaction button in the bottom right-hand corner. But go ahead and hit that thumbs up so that we can let that algorithm know that we're about to get into something. So with that, Dr. Peter, talk to us a little bit about this video and why we show this video every single Saturday. Seems like we could show it once a month, but we share it every single Saturday. Why is that important, and what are we about to get into?
Well, as I often say there, Galen, I think that sometimes the video does a better job of giving an overview of this phenomenal text by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. For our audience, if you have never picked up a copy, today is your day. Either go to Amazon. We can also have a link on our International Mastermind Association website as well. So dive on in, because these 13 principles have been the backdrop of so many individual success around the world, not even just here in the US. And this can be you too, not even in the area of business, not even in the area of just wealth, but in the area of life. We have to ask you, how are you thinking in order to get rich? So let's give it a listen.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
So there you have it, folks. The Think and Grow Rich overview, the best video that we show every single week that gives us a sneak peek into each of these principles. Again, if you have never picked up this text, today's your day to be able to do so. Galen, ready to dive on into this conversation?
All right, all right. Well, let's get into this conversation. So, Rex, I want to come back to you. You know, I enjoyed hearing the overview of your story, and although you weren't exposed to this at birth, you were exposed to it at 6 years old. So, you know, close enough. I am curious about, when did this book become more than just a book? because this is one of those books that as soon as people can start telling you what it means to be educated, they usually say, and you've got to read this book in order to be educated. So for me, I read the book just because of that, right? I knew just enough to be able to answer a question if someone wanted to test me, but it wasn't really a reference book for me. When did this book become more than just a book for you?
I was about 25, around there. It's such a great question, and I've talked about this at length in different areas. I read the book from 6, with my mom, and then pretty much picked it up at 11. Now, I've been doing at the age of 8, I started doing like magic and presentations for people. And at 11, my dentist was a doctor. I mean, obviously, he was a doctor. He was a hypnotist, and he used hypnosis instead of anesthesia. So I learned hypnosis from him and was teaching it as a teenager. And all of this time I had read Think and Grow Rich, but I didn't, in all honesty, I didn't really understand it in terms of applying it. So I read it, I knew it, I could quote it, I could do all this stuff, but I didn't really, he'd say, do this for 30 days, like read the chapter on autosuggestion, and he'd say, do this. And I go, okay, but I didn't really do it. Or even I was haphazard with the self-confidence formula. So, because I understood it, I thought I was doing it, but I wasn't really doing it. And when I got into my 20s and I was pursuing an acting career in Hollywood, and I had some success and then some failure, some issues and some stuff. And I just kind of let it slide. And I've been a meditator since I was a kid and everything. I kind of let everything slide while I focused on the career, but I wasn't focused on like understanding what I had benefited from all these years. I was more concerned with what wasn't happening. And so as it wasn't happening, I got more frustrated, more upset. And then I write about it in my book, but I went skydiving with a woman friend of mine, and it made my girlfriend, fiance at the time, not real happy with me. And I got injured skydiving, and I went to a doctor because I was trying to hide the whole thing, and I couldn't sleep, and I was I hurt my back badly. But so I said, can you give me something that can help me sleep and get through the day? And he said, yeah, here, you can take these. And he gave me 2 pills that proved to be a fatal combination of medicines that I should never have gotten. I should have died, and I didn't. And I should have gone into a coma, and I didn't. But I was living my life on these medicines. And long story short, I tried to kill myself. I did all these things. I lost my relationship, lost my friends, lost my career, lost all my money, everything. I mean, it just completely went from being okay to really not okay. And at a particular point, a friend of mine looked at me one day and said, because of the circumstances I'd been going through, and I'd bullied a mafia guy in a bar one night, and he's like, oh, I'm going to get you. And my friend's like, you're going to die. You're going to die. You did this, that. And he listed these whole things. He said, you're the guy. And when he said it, even though I tried to kill myself, in my head, I don't want to do that. I don't want to die. I want to live. I mean, I've gone through all this crap. there must be a reason for me being here. I just haven't figured it out. So I locked myself in my apartment for 6 to 8 weeks, where I said, I'm not leaving my apartment. Although I had to get some food from time to time, or I went to the bathroom, but I sat in my easy boy chair and I meditated and I visualized and I affirmed and I did all this stuff trying to get my life back. And about 3 weeks into it, I eventually had this epiphany, and I realized, I was not directing my brain appropriately, not correctly. So here, tie it to this chapter. At the very beginning of the chapter, he says, out of 25,000 people, up there near the top of the list for failure is the lack of making a decision. Well, what saved me was the decision to lock myself in my room, the decision to sit in this chair, the decision to commit to going back and exploring what I had known but wasn't applying. And when I had this realization that it was about directing my mind from the failure, and I was asking myself, this is where directed questions came from, but I was asking myself, like, why did this happen to me, and how could I be so stupid, and why was I, not able to do things? And at some point I went, I don't want to know that. How long will this take? I don't want to know that. I want to know how soon I can get back my life. I want to know how I can get confidence to go out in the world. I want to know what I can do to succeed. I wanted to know how I could get my girlfriend back. All these kinds of things, instead of what was wrong with me. And when I shifted that from what was wrong to what I could do that was right, suddenly I started to have breakthroughs. And when I had the breakthroughs, I go, I got to get back into Think and Grow Rich. And I started to read the book and started to apply the principles. And at that point, things started to change. Now, it wasn't that I went from devastated to ultimately successful. I came out kind of like a baby learning to walk. I mean, I was stumbling and things, but I got back into the world. I got my friends back. I became friends with a girlfriend, months later again, and things. I started to get my career back. And as I had those successes, I continued to say, I need to be focused on what moves me forward, not on what has held me back. And I will say this and then I'll stop, but it's the master procrastination. You don't master procrastination by focusing on why you procrastinate. You master procrastination by deciding what it is you want to do and then doing it. And Hill is just, I've had this deep love and affinity for it, how he put together. I've read everybody, I mean, I've read everyone before and since and all that. But for some reason, the way he organized the material from Laws of Success and through Think and Grow Rich and his other works is to me really profound.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
absolutely profound. And it's really beneficial if people will read it, dive into it, study it, and then decide to apply it. Because without that, it's just another book. I mean, it's not another book, it's just another book for them.
Oh, fantastic. Well, and I'll tell you, so many parts of his story reminds me of what you've done and what you're doing with your family as far as introducing them at a very, very young age to these principles. I would really love to hear what's your perspective on what Rex has shared so far.
Well, first of all, let me say that you are exemplifying why it's important to have our children to start with this principle and this book very early. We host a Think and Grow Rich youth mastermind every Sunday on Zoom at 1:30. And for those of you that's listening, you can go to our International Masterminders website. You can also go to Eventbrite and you can join us, register to join us. But many of these children, Rex, now are grown-ups and they have children because we've been on this journey with these children for over 30 years and they rotate. My question for you is, because going back to Galen's question, it is amazing to see what the journey will do, and your life exemplifies that. But my question for you is, what decision have you made or making or need to make that may be very, very difficult given certain circumstances? And I ask this because a lot of people on here live and in the future that will face certain decisions, not like the ones in the book about life or death, although some are life or death. But can you share with us a story or an example of another decision that you had to make that was very difficult? Because I think that some of the decisions are really small and they become large when we don't make them. That indecision turns into fear, procrastination, right? So is there something that you might be struggling with now that I know will benefit our listeners that you are willing to share?
Yeah, again, a great question. I'd answer it this way. A lot of people think, it's the major decisions in life that affect you the most, or the major bad things that affect you most. But truly, it's the little things that you decide to do on a daily basis that either move you forward or hold you back. I would say, and one is to change the thing of just changing the thought that this will be difficult or I'm making a difficult decision is the decision to make. Because so many of us take our own power away or take the power of the group or the mastermind away by saying, this is going to be hard. So the first thing that I started to do, I'm a brain trainer. I mean, that's what I do. And in the 80s, I called myself a decision engineer. I mean, that was my brand. I was a decision engineer. I help people make better decisions. I sense I don't promote that much in that regard. It's the same way today as I did back then. But the point is it's the little decisions. So to decide, I'm going to focus on this being easy. I'm going to focus on making my language work for me in a positive way. I'm going to focus on my being gratitude, or I'm going to focus on, eating bite by bite instead of shoveling everything into my mouth. It's the little tiny things that are the decisions that we don't realize we're making and they're so tiny, but they're the things that could trip us up. So for me, it's to notice when I say something that doesn't reflect who I want to be or who I am. So if I said, for example, I'd really like to do this, but I don't know where the money's coming from. I like to do this and I can't do it. Or I want to exercise, but I'm lazy. Changing those words, changing those thoughts, deciding to take, steps to make sure that I say, I want to be healthy and I want to eat right and I want to exercise the right amount and I want to sleep properly so that I'm healthy, mind, body, and spirit. I don't know where the money's coming, but I know that the money will be there when I need it and I can find those people. And so it's about directing my attention, my mind, and my brain into what it can do, not as what it can't do. So that to me is the most important decision that I make or have made important today. But here's the thing. The beauty of the work is that once you decide, and if you repeat it correctly, consistently for long enough, you build the habit. And when you build a habit, what is the habit? If you bite your nails, if you swear and you don't want to, or you think negatively and you prefer to think otherwise, these are automatic. They're reliable. They're hardwired in. And as a brain trainer, people say, well, I sabotage myself. Well, get rid of that because there's no sabotage. Your brain only works in one direction. It does what it's learned to do. And if it's learned to bite nails or smoke, that's what it does. And then you come along, I come along, somebody comes along and says, I don't want to smoke anymore. And then they find themselves smoking because that habit's been going for a long time. And they'll say, well, it's addictive and it's chemical. It's this. Well, this is the brain learned to smoke. It doesn't think it's good or bad. It's just, this is what I do. Then the human says, I don't want to do it anymore. And the brain says, yes, but this is what I do. And the human goes, but I'm trying not to do that. And the human brain goes, but this is what I do. And so they set up this struggle. And then they say something like, well, I sabotage myself. I don't want to do this, but I find myself doing it, or I want to do this. And you can't sabotage yourself. There's no one inside you going, you're wrong, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, except for those patterns that you've learned, those habits you learned. So changing our habits so that they work for us is that decision that we need to make. And then the cool part about it is once you decide it and you rehearse it and you practice it like actors do, they do all this stuff to make sure they say the lines and hit their marks and be in the light and respond the way they're supposed to, in a play or a movie for 6 or 7 or 8 weeks so that it becomes natural, so that opening night and the subsequent days of the play, they're doing these behaviors without having to think about it, which is what our habits are. We don't have to think about it. They're unconscious. We're unconsciously competent in it. So
Okay.
when you make a decision, but when you make, I'm just going to say, when you make the decision to do it, then it gets easier and it becomes automatic and reliable down the road, not right at first. You have to consciously try and do it. But if you keep at it, like if you keep playing the piano, you get better at it. If you keep juggling, you'll get better at it. If you keep swimming or cooking or whatever, you get better at it. Same thing with deciding to direct your mind toward the positive things that you can do instead of focusing on the things that you can't. And then just don't call yourself names and just don't label the behaviors as things that are wrong about you, because nothing is wrong about you. You just need to move in the right directions.
Okay, let me give you one that I'm struggling with.
Okay, so the first one I would say stop struggling with it. It's an opportunity for change. It's something you haven't mastered yet, but it's the opportunity for you to explore things that you have. And I apologize. We don't have, I'm not trying to.
I haven't gotten to my question yet, though.
No, I understand, but when you say I'm struggling with this,
Yeah,
that's an affirmation.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so it centers around an early start, a decision to make an early start. So my question to you is there, because I heard everything you said, I get it. But my question to you is, do you have something, for example, that piece of cake or that burger or that fry or that put on the sneakers, some decision that you are struggling with? We won't use my word struggle, we'll use an affirmation that you.
There's something I'm considering.
Yes, considering. I love that. I love that. So I'm considering getting up earlier, and I look at the clock and not turn over. So is there something that you're considering that you need to decide to act on?
Well, my answer was those moments when I'm not going in a positive direction was the original answer was to direct my mind positively instead of away from. So if I wanted to get up in the morning and I'm not getting up and it's too easy to roll over, I say, what is it about the morning that's exciting? What are the things about it that I could really find delightful? How much fun could I have getting up early and going outside and seeing the sunrise? And I would start to begin to ask myself those kinds of questions. There are a lot of people who get up and they go, here's something that people seem to forget. We're, according to the universe, or science, all there is energy in the universe. Your energy, I'm energy, the space between us is energy, the space between, our computers are energy. There's nothing in the world that isn't made up of atoms that is energy, empty space and everything. And people go, I don't have enough energy. I go, well, you're a walking battery. How do you not have enough energy? You don't manage your energy appropriately, or you don't know how to use your body appropriately, or there may be some physical illnesses or issues that preclude you from using energy in a particular way. But your energy. So if you say I don't have energy, why would you affirm that you don't have energy? And so it's the idea of if it's I have a piece of cake that I don't want to eat, what do I want to eat instead? Because if all I'm doing is focusing on what I don't want to do, I'm going to focus. If I say I don't want to eat cake, what do you know? What do I see in my head? I see cake. So it's the taking of my attention away from whatever the problem is. And I've got, people go, well, Rex, you've been doing this for, 50 some years of your life. Life must be wonderful. I face massive disruptions constantly, every day, something happens, not always. I mean, I live a wonderful life too, but it's, I've lost my money many times through bad decisions, not having accurate information, trusting the wrong, whatever it might be. So it's really about for me, where do I put my attention on what is it that I can do that makes this easier and more fun and more delightful instead of a struggle or a challenge or something that I hate to do. If I really hate to do it, either I need to find something else that I want to do instead, or I need to really program my mind to find the things about it that are fun and motivating and, that draw me to it so that because otherwise I'm going to sit there going, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. That's not going to make me want to do it anymore. So it's taking the control. It's think and grow rich. Remember, he said not work hard and grow rich. So I want to put an end to the struggle. And that's been my work for 50 years, is teaching people that you can run your brain and live your life. And it can be delightful and fun and thrilling and like a child where you get captivated by a butterfly or you run around playing with a stick, because you have all this. You watch a kid who'll watch like some movie 100 times and it always ends the same way, but they're just as delighted when they get to the end. They don't go, I've seen this before. Adults tend to do that, but kids are like, whoa. So it's really recapturing that joy of learning and discovery. And we get into school and we're taught to have to sit still and you have to learn this and you have to regurgitate information. And if you're wrong, you get punished, or you're wrong, you're labeled stupid. End that, for God's sake. Just put an end to that and realize that kids learn more through playing and running around than they ever do sitting in a classroom from, preschool to advanced college. They get information, but until they apply it, they don't do anything. So I want to share with you a profound quote that I guess I thought about it, but never thought about it until I heard this thing. Somebody was talking the other day and says, a spectator, a fan, a sports fan is somebody who pays to watch someone get paid to do what they enjoy. And I went, that's so true. And people will pay hundreds of dollars to go to a sporting event, but the people playing the sporting event be paid tens of thousands and millions of dollars. Who's smarter? Well, I mean, maybe they both are, but the point is the people who are playing are doing it and they're getting it back. The other people are watching it and paying to watch it.
Wow. Dr. Peter, I got to get you in here, man. This sounds like a master class in coaching principles, because these are various things that I've heard you talk about and that we talk about with our clients. What's your reaction to what you're hearing so far?
Yeah, Rex, I've been sitting here taking a lot of notes, captivated by some of the things that you've been saying, and even specifically starting with the language, because you're right. What we think, how we communicate, can really set the precedence for what we want our future to look like. My question to you, though, sir, is we we don't operate in this world alone.
Right.
We have colleagues, we have friends, we have family and friends and colleagues. Oftentimes, their language does not coincide with where we desire to go. My question to you is, what do we do then? We don't choose our family. Sure, we choose friends and colleagues and things like that, but that those influences can really impact us one way or the other. Yeah, I know we have to have a strong mind, but nevertheless, hey, we are the average of our five closest friends. So, what are your thoughts around who you surround yourself with, or even how has that impacted you in your life?
So, there are truisms, and then there are truisms that may or may not be true. So when you say we're the average of our five closest friends, I mean, Jim Rohn, essentially popularized that. I don't know that that's true. I know that it can be true. In other words, I can be in a group of people who are not doing anything, and I can be one of them, and I'm probably not going to go very far unless I decide I must leave this group, or I must do it in spite of the group, or I must do it with the group. I mean, there's a number of decisions you could make about the group. Um, or I'm surrounded by five really rich people. I'm one of five really rich people. So let me back my way into this one. First off, Napoleon Hill, when we did the self-confidence formula and things, you notice that it's affirming. He talks about auto-suggestion. Read that chapter, 30 days to convince yourself that you got to do this. And then he tells you to do these things day and night and write things down and clarify it and everything, and then recite this thing. It doesn't say that the people around you are preventing you from doing anything because of who they are. It says, here's what I'm going to do, and here's what I will do, and everything else. Jesus didn't go, I have the crappiest disciples in the world. You guys are doubters, you're betrayers. I can't get anywhere with you people because you're holding me back. You're thinking negatively. I'm out here healing people, and you're going, what? And you're drawing, and Buddha didn't do it, So there's these concepts of like energy vampires and all this stuff. And we always put the energy is going to the outside instead of what Hill said is the one thing you can control, this or you. And so if you're putting your focus on them and I have people in my life who have been horrible to me in police, law enforcement, girlfriends, whatever, people that I'm not getting along, people I've, had trouble with, where I had my breakthrough was and I still am learning this, but where I had my breakthrough is to go, they're my teachers. They're presenting me opportunities for what I need to learn to take care of in myself through, sometimes they're teaching me in loving and kind and gentle and instructive ways, and other times they're being totally whatever, and it's my reaction. If somebody gives me the finger on the highway, that's what they did. My reaction to the finger on the highway is the only thing I can control. I can't prevent them from doing it. If I give it back, I could get injured, or just my own anger. So where I came to a lot of this conclusion is living in Los Angeles, getting stuck in traffic. When I had meetings I had to get to, and I'm like, I'm going to be late. I'm getting frantic. And suddenly I realized I can't get anywhere. I'm stuck. It's bumper to bumper from as far as the eyes can see. So maybe I need to use this time to relax and to chill out, maybe to meditate, keep my eyes open so if traffic moves. But because I can't be anywhere else. I have to accept where I'm at this moment. And if I just yell at all the cars around me and honk my horn, I don't, So it's that removal of these others or these circumstances or these events are causing me to be a certain way that we as people get to encounter many times throughout the day. And the only way that we can come to master that and develop the habit of being either calm or collect or not allowing it to bother you. And Hill would say build walls and don't tell your stuff. I mean, he had times where he would say, you don't, there may be people out there to harm you or to steal your idea. I go, okay, but I don't want to worry about that. It's good advice, but I don't want to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to control me. I want to stop the drifting or the blaming or excusing or I want to stop sending my brain anywhere but where it's most useful. And that is, how can I respond to that? So maybe I need to change my attitude. So I'm like, if I'm stuck on the Pacific Coast Highway in California in traffic, I'm on the continental edge of the United States. I'm like where Ann is on an island. How cool is that? The universe has given me the opportunity to sit here and go nowhere with all these negative ions, bathing me, so, it's like, how do you make your little moments, not just your big moments, but your little moments wonderful? And it stops from accusing and excusing and blaming and providing. People come to me and say, I didn't do this or I'm late and here's why. And I go, I don't care why, you just didn't do it. The answer is you didn't do it. How do we correct that?
Well, let me jump in real quick and piggyback on my second question too with that. What about setbacks? When you do have setbacks, when you are on the Pacific Coast Highway and you do find yourself lashing out, what does course correction look like for you?
So let's say I rage and I rage for 50 minutes, 60 minutes, an hour. When I get clear that I go, wow, I just was nasty for an hour. The first thing I do is go, good job. You noticed that you were nasty for an hour. Wow. You just noticed something that you probably didn't notice lots of times.
That's self-awareness.
It is. And it's acknowledging self-awareness. I'm not patting myself on the back for being nasty. I'm patting myself on the back for noticing I was nasty because now I can do something about that. I can go, wow, next time this happens, what could I do instead? What are the possible different ways I could respond? How could I, instead of going there, how could I find myself feeling curious about something like, gee, I wonder, how could I use that time to better myself? Could I read a book or could I listen to something on tape? Could I, do affirmations so that instead of going down the rabbit hole that I normally go down, it's coming to a fork in the road. If I always go to the left, I want to go to the right this time, or I want to go any other way but to the way I've been going. And that's how in other words, to direct your mind. Like I said, I'm a brain trainer. I'm going to tell you a story. I hope I'm not talking too long and all these because I got the opportunity. How I hurt myself skydiving and injured my back was I was doing a movie and they gave me advanced riding lessons on a horse because I had to play death on horseback. And so I'm chasing this girl in this movie. And I had to look like I'd been riding all my life. And I'd been riding most of my life, but I wasn't like a real cowboy. I wasn't, death on horseback, right? So they gave me all these lessons. And what I learned was the more sophisticated the horse is, the better you have to be as a rider because it's got all these stunt commands in Hollywood. They, like a well-trained dog does all these different things, but that well-trained dog has to learn all those different things. They don't come to it naturally. But the best way to do it is or training dolphins or anything, you reward the behavior you want to encourage and you ignore the behaviors you don't want to encourage. So you're training in a particular direction because if you go bad dog, it's getting attention. If you go good dog, it's getting attention. So it doesn't know what to do. But if you only go good dog, good dog, good dog, then it learns and you give it a little reward and it learns. So if you get on a horse and you're drifting, you don't know how to ride a horse, that horse will take you where it wants to go. It knows you don't ride it. It knows you can't tell. And if it's one of those stable horses where they just go around in a circle or take the path, through the thing, that's where you go. But if you're a good rider, you tell the horse where to go. Okay. And the horse will do what you say. So that's when you watch cowboy movies, they get on their horse and they go somewhere and they gallop. Right. Same thing with your brain. You have to tell your brain. The thing about Hill is you have to consciously impress the subconscious mind to do what you want it to do. And it's a willing servant, but it's a horrible master. And so it's all these little things in life. And if you went, oh my God, there's all these little things, you'd never do it. So you end up doing it when you notice it. And when you notice it, you congratulate yourself, you validate, you give yourself a little reward, and then you go, where do I want to go instead? You can't say, I don't want to go to the store, because that doesn't tell you where you want to go. You say, I want to go to the bank, and that's where you go. So it's the routine of programming your mind on a daily. I want to spend my time in gratitude. I want to feel good about my life. I want to enjoy my friends. When there are people who I try never to say, and even when I say try, I say there are difficult people. I try to say there are people that some might call difficult, or there are situations that, because it's not about lying to yourself. But, I'm facing something right now that many people would say is a challenge. But do you realize that I love a challenge? I mean, there are people who rock climb, that's a challenge. There are people who do difficult things, that's a challenge. But when people talk about the problems, they go, you know what I'm challenged with? I go, that's not a challenge, that's a problem.
Hmm.
You're just
Wow.
you're just using a different word, but the word now becomes synonymous with something you don't like. I'm challenged by. I'm like, no, yeah, I mean, I get it, but you must, go, I enjoy a challenge. So if you can bring
Man.
yourself to enjoy having problems by not calling them problems, but there's things that you grow and develop and advance from, then there's no harm and no foul. But the
Wow.
moment you say, I have a problem, I hate this thing, I hate, I'm trying to remove this, that person is an issue or an a-hole or whatever it might be. Now you're creating the internal conflict for you and maybe with them or with the circumstance. So I don't want to play that game.
And he is reminding me so much of the things that you challenge me to stay mindful of. What questions do you have?
Well, I just put in the chat, I'm going to go back to the morning routine. Is there a morning routine that you have that over the years you've decided works well
Oh, yeah.
for you?
Well, I love morning. I mean, I love being alive. It took me a while to discover that, but I really do. And I get up and I love it. I walk around and go, oh my God, everything is so green and the sky is so blue. And, it's such a beautiful day. And I tell my dogs, I go, oh, don't we live in a beautiful world? I mean, isn't that amazing? So that's kind of how I fill my day. I try and I want to wake up in the morning and go, oh God, I love life. I love what I'm doing. And you have to do what you have to do. You have to go to the bathroom, you have to clean yourself or whatever, you have to make breakfast, you have to get ready for your day. So I tend to first thing to do is to celebrate, to find what am I grateful for? I'm with my dogs, I'm with my friends, I'm going to go do this thing. If it's an opportunity for me that I can celebrate and be great. Here's how I close my programs and everything. I always say, if you consider it a problem, it's a problem. And if you consider it a blessing, it's a blessing, because how you consider it makes it so. What you think, it becomes. So why not celebrate everything? And I will say this, an example of mine from 40 years ago, dog crap or diamonds, choose. And if I understand that, every moment there's a choice to go down a rabbit hole of dog crap. And some people will rub dog crap all over themselves, wallow in it, do the whole thing, go, God, life is full of dog crap. And I go, I get it. I understand. But you also have diamonds. And what are diamonds? A brilliant cut diamond has 57 different facets that reflects light, in a certain way. And so there's many different possibilities in a diamond. It's not just the diamond, it's what are you reflecting? So if you reflect, I love life, I love myself, I love people. Lastly, I will say this. Growing up in Los Angeles and driving in Los Angeles in the 70s, particularly 80s, very hostile, very gritty, very tough. I was a nasty driver. I wanted to beat everybody to the red light. I would sit in the turn lane and squid out in front of everybody so that I could get ahead of the pack because I hated being stuck. And now in Los Angeles, and it was horrible, I mean, everybody was competing for it. Now I think of LA as one of the friendliest places to drive. People are polite. It's become overcrowded, and instead of people, waiting forever to get out of a parking lot, people go ahead. Now, are there some not so polite people on the highway? Yeah, but by comparison, I think of it as a polite city. So what do I notice most of? Sometimes there's an exception to the rule. Now, that said, Chicago people are excellent drivers. They just drive a particular way that nobody else likes about them, because they're fast. They can go 100 miles an hour at bumper to bumper and do in and out stuff. Wisconsin, on the other hand, is pretty hostile driving. I mean, there's different, it's a different, they're different places. So if I go to Wisconsin and I only focus on hostile drivers, then the way my life is when I'm driving is not the same as when I'm driving in LA. And I'm going, well, this is really cool. And if somebody comes along and cuts me off or gives me the finger or something like that, I have a choice, dog crap or diamonds. How do I want to respond?
I love it. I love it. I can't believe how quickly the time is going by. Miss Ann, talk a little bit about this annual meeting because that's one of the places that I go to get reminded of those things that I say that I want to accomplish, at least for the upcoming year, if not further into the future. Talk a little bit about that annual meeting.
Yes. Rex, on an annual basis, and for those of you that's listening to us for the first, second, or third time, on an annual basis, utilizing this philosophy, we all come together, those of us who are masterminding, utilizing this Think and Grow Rich philosophy. We come together and we host an annual meeting for your life. This is not a conference. So we cover 10 areas of your life. And many people bring families, people fly in, they drive in, and we focus on your 10 areas, such as your spiritual, family, financial, education, health, personal development, your recreation or your career, your business, your civic, and in your creative area of your life. We ask you to bring your life in writing. We give you a survey where you can just check the boxes, or you can, create like Galen does a magazine of your life now. But we've been doing this now for over 20 some odd years, and over 1,000 people have joined us. But what's equally as important is having a place of accountability. So you share, this is what I've done in the last year. This is what I'm planning to do this upcoming year and the next 5, 10, or 20 years. And for me personally, I am at 45 years on this journey of writing these goals. And I can just encourage all of you, and you can go to our website at the internationalmasterminders.com, internationalmasterminders.com. We have moved the location, and it's going to be another awesome event. That's January 3rd and 4th, 2025. And if you're listening to this in the future and it's past that date, do know you can go to our website at internationalmasterminders.com, and you can register, because again, we look to create a space. And for me personally, I could not find a place where I could go and have one place, Rex, just one place that I could go to be held accountable for all of the areas of my life with my family. See, there are places I could go by myself and my profession. There were places I could go, for personal development things, but there was no place where I could bring all of these things together. And this is why we created this space. And it's just been phenomenal. Many of the people on YouTube that's listening to us, they've attended. And as a result of that, it has just become the place. So we'd like to invite you, Rex, and all of you that's listening in. Space is limited and lots of people are still registering. And we also want to encourage everybody to remember, comment, like, and share the podcast, but also subscribe to this YouTube so we can share this with everybody else. So that's the International Masterminders, Galen.
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about that annual meeting. The price goes up the closer you get to the meeting. That's why I've already got my seat. I'm there. I've already got my seat. Please don't hesitate. This is not an opportunity to procrastinate. If you procrastinate, you're going to miss out on something that could make a significant difference in how you show up in your life. So please take advantage of this opportunity right now. I'd like to go around and just kind of talk with everyone. Dr. Peter, I'll start with you. What were some of the key insights that you've gained from today's conversation with Rex Sikes about decision? And how can people get a hold of you if they want to get more of the high performance coach?
Yeah, great conversation today. Rex, thank you so much for joining us. Actually, Rex, something you said really struck a nerve with me, and I even captured it. You said, your brain is a willing servant, but a horrible master. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was the one I had to really capture, because that really allowed me to say, hey, how intentionality plays a role or needs to play a role in our lives. So thank you so much for this insightful conversation. Thinking about the power that we do have. We sometimes give our power away too much. And what I'm hearing from Rex is that we need to stop doing that and realizing the power that we do have moving forward. So, hey there, folks. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me on LinkedIn at Dr. Peter A. James. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Peter A. James. The best place to find me these days is at the Own Your Career Challenge that Mr. Galen Bingham and I have put together in order to help you get to your next level. Again, talk about intentionality, talk about your next level. Well, this is the place to be for just $97. Begins on July 29th. It's right around the corner. 4 days of diving on into your next level. Whatever that next level be, it could be a new career, could be a new focus, could be a new business. This is that for you. So give it a listen. Come join us, shiftyourmindset.com/own your career challenge. Look forward to having you all here.
Wow,
All right.
wow. Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh. $97, man. That's less than the price of a good bottle of whiskey. I can't believe we agreed to do this for 4 days, a 4 day experience with both of us for $97. Fantastic, fantastic. Miss Ann McNeil, what is going on with you? What did you gain from this conversation? I know you love to take notes, and those notes usually end up in the work that you do. What did you gain from today's conversation? How can people get a hold of you if they want more of the Master Builder?
Well, my major takeaway is not to struggle in the morning. So I will uh, when I look at that clock, I'll put my feet on the floor. So thank you so very much. That is my major takeaway. And I've decided I only need one to act on, and I will act on that one. Yes, I will act on that one. Ann McNeil, I help entrepreneurial women go to the next level in their business and their life. And I am always encouraging everyone, if you're interested in connecting with me to learn how you can do that, you can text the word "and," that's ANN. You can text the number 59925, and in the chat, just put the name "and," that's ANN, and I will send back to you my 6-point business plan, and we can have a conversation of how we can help you go to the next level. And of course, I'm always promoting that book, How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group, if you are interested in having a process and a system that is proven over 40 plus years in working with this philosophy. So Galen, Peter, Rex, you have been awesome. Like Galen said, I have lots of notes, but I'm also encouraged and inspired by all of the work that you're doing, because of course I did go to your LinkedIn and I did look at all of the mind work you're doing, which really contributes to your being able to bless us in a mighty way today. And then both of us, thankfully, I do want to give kudos to Don Green and the Napoleon Hill Foundation, also the Institute too. But I really want to continue to encourage everybody. If you're interested in getting deeper in this philosophy, please connect with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, because that is a really good place to start, even if you just want to have a better quality of life and learn more about these principles. Galen, we did have a question from Jen in the chat. Not sure if we'll have time to share that question with Rex, but if we do, I did put it in the chat off of
Yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can bring that in. And Rex, I want to toss this to you. Number one, this has been an incredible conversation. You've shared so much. The question that we have from Jen is, how would you suggest sharing some of these systems with adult children? It's one thing if you can get them, at 6 years old. It's another thing if you're trying to help them and they're 24, 27, 32. What suggestions do you have? And then how can people get a hold of you if they want to get some more of this insight from you that you've shared with us today?
Well, thank you for all of that. And first, let me say that the people I'm surrounded with on this screen right now exemplify putting these principles into action and creating their best lives and helping others create their best lives. So, I mean, you're all leaders and magnificent in what you've been able to accomplish. So I'm honored. The best way to encourage adults is to be an example, because so many people talk to correct, And the cool part about decision making is if you make the wrong decision, you can always make another decision. Nothing is written in stone. So the best way to get somebody to learn these principles is to ask them questions for understanding what they're doing. And if they say, I did this and you don't agree with it, instead of going, I don't agree with that, or you should do this instead, go, how did you get to that? How did you come to that? How did you learn that? How did you make that decision? How is that working? Why do you do it? Why do you think that's important? In other words, let them be heard and let them express themselves. And then as they start to open up, you can begin to say, have you ever thought maybe about this or considered that? And they'll say yes or no, or that's horse crap or whatever. Well, how did you come to that conclusion? I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just interested in other words, you want to let them express themselves without feeling like they're being corrected or corralled or pushed, or because most of us don't like advice. What you should do is this, and yeah, whatever. Or if parents are telling their kids, here's the college you should do, or that, they go, they want to do everything but that. And if you get into that kind of thing, it doesn't help. So instead of getting into this kind of thing, you want to get into this kind of thing. And you do that by being an example, by being open, by sharing yourself without becoming oversharing, and allow them to be who they are. And if you're practicing the principles and your life is working, and they start to ask you questions, you go, well, I think of it this way, and I use this principle I got from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. So you don't do it by testifying to them. You do it by eliciting positive responses, but and kind of like acknowledging them so that they want to do more and want to communicate with you more.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, such great advice. Rex, how can people get a hold of you if they want to get some more of this insight and wisdom firsthand?
Well, they can go to rexsikes.com. It's there in my name right there, rexsikes.com. Yeah. And it says /book. So if they want to get my book, they can go there and get the book. And if they get the book, and they'll tell you what to do and all the details here, I'll give a bonus gift, which is a $497 training on mastery. And it'll be some of the things that we talk about, how you learn to make behavioral change or mental changes or spiritual changes, financial changes, whatever you want, absolutely free, just for getting the book. So you get the book, you get the training. And if you go there, you'll see, Attitude Activator. It's a $50 program that you want to get. It's a must-have. And then there are other programs there that you can dive in. That I've spent a lifetime sharing Napoleon Hill's principles, and other modes of being able to change easily and effortlessly and more rapidly than a lot of us. And it's a way of not creating conflict for yourself. It's a way of creating harmony. And when you think about the mastermind, it's working together in collaboration, cooperation, and harmony with others. Work in collaboration, cooperation, and harmony with yourself. And when you do that, you can work that much easier with the others.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, this has been a great conversation. I can't imagine where the time has gone. That means that we must have been doing something positive. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist. You can find me anywhere you type in Galen Bingham in social media. But the most fun way, when I'm not hanging out with Dr. Peter for the Own Your Career Challenge, the most fun way to get a hold of me is by going to my podcast, the Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership Podcast. We're on every podcast platform, as well as on my website at galenbingham.com or killglobalcoaching.com. We talk to leaders all over the world about the whiskeys they drink, the music they listen to, and what they think it really takes to be an effective leader. I double dog dare you to try us at least once. Guarantee you that you will get something that will help you take at least one more step in the direction that you would like to be. So this has been another amazing conversation. Rex, thank you so much for being our guest. And I'm going to invite each and every one of you watching or listening to join us each Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time as we walk through the book Think and Grow Rich. Rex, it just dawned on me that you're in LA, man. This is like incredibly early for you. So I really appreciate you making the choice, making the decision to be with us and to share with our guests, with our listeners about this really, really important topic. So go ahead. One last.
I'm just going to say, if you have something you want to get up for, it's easy to get up for it. I wanted to be here with you and be able to do this, so it's very easy to get up.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for listening, and I am going to encourage you to join us next Saturday where we continue to go through this incredible book. Until next time, take care.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think